What on earth is an appraisal gap? And when does that even come into play in a real estate transaction? We are seeing a lot of this in Denver right now to win multiple offer situations. So let's go over it today. Appraisal gaps, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. What's up guys, Lewi Gault here. Welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well. We are here every single week dropping videos on real estate, specifically in the Denver market for buyers, sellers and investors, and also agents too. So tune in. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that button, subscribe, do all the stuff, and you'll keep up to date with everything that we are putting out. Today we're talking about a subject that's come up quite a lot recently with clients of mine, and it is appraisal gaps. It only happens in certain situations in certain markets, and today I just want to kind of set the record straight on what this actually is, because a lot of people seem to be confused about the appraisal process and appraisal gaps in particular. So let's just get right into it. First of all, we're just going to break down the appraisal. Now this might be monotonous if you know what this is, but let's just go over it in layman terms. So let's say you've been pre-approved for a $500,000 loan for a house. This is great. So we're going to go out, we're going to shop for houses, we're going to find one, and say we find one right at $500,000. Okay, so $500,000 house, and we want to offer on that house, and we offer $500,000, we go under contract. Okay, now if the appraiser who is hired by the lender, a third-party appraiser, comes out and he goes on behalf of the lender to evaluate if the home that they are loaning you the money for is worth $500,000. Because if it is, or if it's worth more, then happy days, we're good to go. If it's not worth that, then we have to have a conversation with the seller about dropping that price down, because the lender is only going to lend you what the home is worth. So if you get pre-approved for $500,000, you find the house and you're under contract, but it appraises for $480,000, then there is a $20,000 discrepancy, and the lender is not going to cover that. They're only going to lend you what the home is worth. Now we can fight the appraiser, not literally, but we can fight the appraiser with our own comps and stuff like that and challenge him or her, but it can really turn into quite a sticky situation and a bit of a mess, and a bit of a heartbreak really sometimes, because deals can implode on things like this. So in that situation, what do you do? How do you get past this? You can negotiate with the seller to bring the price down, but in a market like Denver right now, which is so hot, we're seeing multiple offers on each property. So we're seeing 3, 4, 5, up to like 12 offers I saw the other day on a property. How do we get past that? And how do we use an appraisal gap to win deals? So let's break down what an appraisal gap is. An appraisal gap is you telling the seller that you are going to cover the gap in an appraisal if it comes in lower than the purchase price. So say we offer $500,000 and we say, okay, we're going to cover a $10,000 appraisal gap. Now if that comes in at $490,000, we're going to cover that 10 grand out of our own back pocket. Now you're definitely taking a risk in giving that appraisal gap, because you might come out of pocket for that. But if it's a case where you love this house, you really want this house for you and your family, you're in a situation where you really need it, then it can help. I never really advise doing appraisal gaps, because there is a negative equity that can come of the house, but it's really always up to the client. Now let's talk about a situation that I just experienced. We submitted an offer yesterday for some clients of ours. $500,000 was the asking price for the property. It just came on the market, but there was multiple showings scheduled. We knew it was going to have a ton of different offers. So my clients decided to put in an appraisal gap. So what they did is they offered $10,000 over asking. So they offered $510,000 to start with, and offered a $10,000 appraisal gap. So now the seller is looking at that offer. They might have a full price offer here, they may have a close to full price offer here, but now with our clients they have an offer which is $10,000 over asking, which is awesome, but they're also saying, hey, if it only appraises for $500,000, we're going to give you $10,000 and figure this all out. So really they're securing their offer with the appraisal gap. Now it's a great way to win a multiple offer situation. It really is, because you know, if you're saying, hey, you know, we've got this extra money, we can throw at the house in the appraisal gap and get this done, then awesome, you know. But one of the things you have to think about is the negative equity that it could produce for you. So what do I mean by that? Okay, let's take our example, $500,000, and we offer 510 with a $10,000 appraisal gap. So say it only appraises at $500,000 and we have to cover that $10,000, so 10,000 in. So that means you're already sitting at a negative equity in your house of $10,000 because that's something you've paid already on top of everything else. So you're negative 10,000. Now in a market like Denver, prices are steadily increasing, so you're going to make that back probably a little bit quicker, but in a different market it might be a little slower, or if something happens with the economy and things slow down a little bit, it might take a little bit longer to make that $10,000 back. So you just have to think about how much you're willing to put in up front to the house just to win it and go into a negative equity position. And the big thing to remember about all this is the appraisal gap is coming out of your pocket. The lender won't cover this. It has nothing to do with anything else in the real estate transaction. It's cash out of your pocket that you have to bring to closing. So if you've gone over closing costs and everything with your lender and you know how much you're going to have to bring to the table, then if you're putting in an appraisal gap, you better have that extra cash to bring in case worse comes to worse and you have to cover it. So I hope that makes a little more sense with everything appraisal gap wise. It's a tricky one because in a multiple offer scenario, it can help you win the listing. It definitely can, because the sellers are seeing that you're putting this up and they're seeing that from a place of power that it's a good offer to accept. But there is a downside. If it doesn't appraise and you do fork out that cash, then that cash is gone and it's not coming back for a little bit. So really talk to your realtor about this. If you want to have a more in-depth conversation, leave some comments below or reach out. We can chat about this because it differs on every property. But we are seeing appraisal gaps a lot in Denver right now. This is December 2020 right now. We're seeing a ton of appraisal gaps in multiple offer situations because we just don't have the inventory. So if more inventory comes on in 2021, if we see an uptick in that, then we're probably going to see a little bit less of this. But right now, it is something that's trending. I've only done it with a few clients because I'm not really a big proponent of it. But these few clients have had to win the house. Like, it's just been a life or death thing. Like, this is the house we need. So it's their decision to do that. So just really think about what you're doing when you're making offers with those kind of contingencies in there. Make sure you have enough to be okay to fork out that money if appraisal comes in low, and you can still bring your closing costs money to the table and all that as well. So definitely something to think about. Appraisal gaps, I just wanted to cover that today because everyone's talking about it. There's so much of it going on right now in Denver, and it's definitely worth investigating. So if you have any questions, reach out as always. We will be back here next week with more videos on everything going on in Denver, real estate and all the other stuff. So we will see you then.